the spare machine has had to come out today. Morning watchers, Scott at SE Landscaping. The sun is out, however it is still a bit frosty first thing. But the reason I am at the cemetery today is I'm just gonna try out a machine. So this is our spare Furus. I've had it 2.5 years and it has got 127 hours on. Now you may ask, why have you got a machine that's 2.5 years old with 127 hours on? And as I've explained before, I like spare machines in case the worst thing happens, and the worst thing has happened. So I took my Furus, the one that I use lots and lots, it's got quite a lot of hours on, maybe about 800 or something, in for a service. I knew it needed a bearing and I knew it needed a service. Bad news is it's come out needing, well, it would have been easy to put a whole new deck on because all the pulleys are shot, all the spindles are shot, basically everything on the deck needs replacing, which I'll spin you around. Maintenance wise, anybody who has a Furus knows, if you use it like me, you're greasing these sort of once a week. There's grease nipples in there, there's a one under there, there's a one here, and then the arms and everything else, and the handbrake has one, but these are the key ones, everything that operates in there. So basically you grease it like everyone else, you check the oil and things, but when my machine has gone in for service, everything in that bottom bit is shot to bits, and to the tune of about £2,000 to get it back on the road. So that's one of the reasons in the past that I've always said I always buy new gear. So once this is fixed, it's probably going to be its last year, and then I'll buy a new one. Will I buy another Furus or will I buy a Toro? I don't know yet. Like I say, yes, I know it's done a few hours, but it's the deck is, like I say, it's to replace all these parts. It was a bit disappointing to have to replace everything on it when you do, like I say, you do the maintenance you do the maintenance so these things will run okay. However, it's not happening in this case. So yeah, if it partly my fault for booking it in so late. I should have maybe booked it in a bit earlier, and then I could have made the decision, but as it came late, I've just said to them, just get it back on the road, and we'll go from there. So in the meantime, we've got a new machine. Like I say, it hasn't done a lot. It's the same, well, it's identical machine apart from they altered the cutting heights on them slightly a couple of years ago. But yeah, so the plan is today is just to give it a run out today on these areas in a bit once the frost lifts, just to make sure it's working all right and everything, because next week we start grass cutting. Today is the first day of spring. Although it's frosty this morning, it's supposed to be 18 degrees later, and like I say, that sun will burn off things quite quickly. So yeah, we shall go and do our little jobs of litter picking and things. The plan is I've just brought this machine up here, and all I'm going to do is knock it on and let it tick over for the next sort of half an hour, 40 minutes till I come back, and then all this will be clear. Yes, the machine will be safe because I'm going to lock those gates down the bottom and nobody seems to come up here early doors. So yes, I will be leaving me £12,000 machine, but I'll be tucking it away, and like I say, just running it on a low, just to warm the engine up, because like I say, it hasn't been used in a while. So yeah, happy days. So just topped a 2.5 inch, and it's not too bad considering it hasn't been cut since what, end of October. So just topped that off, and if I come over here, just top this off. So yeah, a little bit in the corner, this here and that side, about 35 minutes. Over in the far corner there where it doesn't get as much frost, there is a little bit more grass on the surface, but we're back to weekly cuts after this week. So like I say, take the top off it and then this gets boxed off for the rest of the year in all these little areas. So happy day. So the test is complete. At least I'm planning it ahead for next week. Basically that sort of 40 minutes of cutting there, just make sure the machine's working alright, there's no funny noises and everything like that, with it being stood for so long. Like I say, I chucked some more grease in it, checked the oil and put some fresh fuel in and everything. So I've done everything it should, and with the hours on it, I might have been with the hours on, it should have done what it's just done, which is started first time and everything. So yeah, all good with that. Coming back to, like I say, with this service that I've gone ahead to get done to get it back on the road for a year, this machine. One of my bugbears is when I spoke to the dealer, it was the same again. Some parts weren't available, and they've had to ship one part in. The only part in Europe was in Belgium, whatever this part was, believe it or not. So although when you buy these machines people tell you, oh, the parts situation's great, it's not. How many Ferris's is in Europe, and there's only one of this specific part, which I don't think, it was something to do with the deck, so it wasn't an engine or something, but for only one to be in Europe, it's pretty poor. But coming back to that, there was a part on the machine, I think it was a spindle or a pulley or something, and my dealer had gone to Ferris and he'd said it's going to be £300 a piece. Now I questioned it straight away, and I spoke to a company down Country Browns, and they told me the parts were 70 quid, and they could get them shipped in. So I went back to my dealer and they'd spoken to the importer, and straight away that £300 each per product came down to 220. So it's a bit annoying that they can knock £240 off straight away. So what I've done for the last 2 to 3 days is I've been on the internet, and I've found out that, and this is for next year, what I'm going to do is the importers are making an absolute fortune, and if anybody is an importer, please comment if I'm wrong, but the parts that you can buy from America for certain brands are half the price. And yes, I know you've got to ship it in, and I know they've got to make a little bit of money, but you've got some products that are 2 and 3 times the cost over here. So you've got something over there that's $50 and they're charging £250 over here. It's, for me, it's daylight robbery. And what it'll mean next year is getting the products booked in earlier for service, and what that will give is that if the dealer comes back and says, right, it needs this part, it's £400, it gives you 2 or 3 months to go on the internet to find a product abroad for probably £100 or £150, and it gives you the time to go to that product and go to that company, buy the product, get it shipped over and give it to the dealer, and you've saved yourself hundreds of pounds. Like I say, I could have done that if I'd known all these parts and if I didn't wait till the last minute to get this machine serviced. But I've learned a hell of a lot over the last week about how people make money. So, and yes, we're all in it to make money, and I haven't got a problem with dealers and importers making money, but I think some of the rates that what's it called? I think some of the margins That's the word I'm looking for. I think some of the margins are way high, but like I say, it's something to chat about at Saltex and Groundsfest with the dealers, and get their actual take on it, and what they have to say. Because like I say, I'm 99% sure I'm not wrong. These are the prices for the same parts, because all parts have a part number. So it's not as if I'm buying inferior parts, because that's another thing. I could have got inferior parts for the I could have got like for like parts, which some people do. They don't. I've always been an advocate of putting the right bits on, but you can buy parts for a small amount of the price, sometimes 6 or 7 times cheaper, but will they last? You don't know. They say they like for like and they should be built the same, but you're not sure, so that's the other option. But like I say, the Furus works. That's my thoughts on things. Interesting to get other people's thoughts. I know people are still waiting 6 to 9 months for parts. And when you buy a machine, the annoying thing is when you buy a machine from dealers and things, they want to sell you a machine, so they say there's no issues, but believe me, the issues are still there. So I know large companies, I know small companies who's waiting for bits and pieces for machines, and they've been waiting a long time, and that's not just 1 or 2 brands. That's the majority of the brands that's out there. So yeah, thoughts in the comments, and we shall catch you on the next one.